Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar on third country posting. My name is Anne-Mette Ødegaard and I'm a researcher at Fafo Institute for Labour and Social Research in Norway, and we will guide you through the next hour. And the topic today is about posted workers that are sent by their employer to conduct a service assignment in another country, and coming from third countries refers to countries outside the EU, EEA. Later on, I will be happy to present our participants, who are Kristin Alsos from Fafo, Cecilie Myrvold from the Norwegian Labour Inspectorate, and Federico Pancaldi from the European Labour Authority. And I will also be happy to receive questions or comments from you that follow us. This webinar is arranged as a part of the research project Better Enforcement Through Improved Nordic-Baltic Cooperation, BETIC, that is commissioned by the European Social Fund. We have in this project so far published 2 papers that are available on our website. The first paper is about the transposition of the Enforcement Directive. This directive from 2014 provides different tools to promote that rules on posting of workers apply uniformly across national borders. And the second paper summarizes the tools used in enforcement of posting in the Nordic and Baltic Labour Inspectorates. Posting from third countries is said to be increasing, but this issue appears to be escaping notice in many countries. According to a report from the European Labour Authority, abusive practices associated with posting include social fraud, fake posting, letterbox companies, undeclared work, and complex contracting arrangements. So it's fair to raise the question whether this is a way to grant workers as free movement rights within the EU they are not entitled to. For the authorities in the receiving countries, one of the greatest challenges in determining whether a posting situation is genuine, and this could be difficult even for when you post EU citizens, but even more for third country nationals, as both the legal rules and the practical situation can be hard to grasp. In Norway, where the Labour Inspectorate do not have any notification system, inspections of third country nationals have been likened to black holes. And we will hear more about the experiences on this. The European Labour Authority was established in 2019 and has its permanent seat in Bratislava, Slovakia. Among other things, they coordinate common activities, such as joint labour inspections and training of national staff on cross-border mobility rules, and they also mediate cross-border disputes and facilitate solutions. So far, Norway has been an observer, but ELA, European Labour Authority regulations, was incorporated into the EEA agreement that Norway is part of in Brussels in December last year, and will now probably be implemented into Norwegian law. As I mentioned, you can send in questions or comments, and the number is shown on the screen. It's also possible to write the questions in Norwegian, and then I can translate. So let's get started. I will now give the floor to senior researcher Kristin Alsos from Fafo, and she will tell us about the experiences with posting of third country nationals into the Nordic and Baltic states, which has been an important part of our project.
Thank you, Anna-Mette. Yes, so in this project, we have looked into how labour inspectorates in the Baltic and the Nordic countries target the posted third country nationals and what they find as the main challenges and how these challenges could be overcome. So this presentation is based on the work that we have done. We have undertaken a literature review. We have made interviews with inspectors in all the participating countries. And we also held workshops with the beneficiaries of this project where we have discussed the findings and developed them further. So a few introductory words before we turn to the findings. As most of you know, a posted worker is an employee that is employed in one of the EU member states and then sent by their employer to work temporarily in another EU member state. And this is done as part of a service contract where the employer provides a service in the receiving member state. Mainly used within construction, but also within other industries as manufacturing, transport, and others. So posting of third country national is exactly the same. So the only difference here is that a third country national has obtained a work permit and a residence permit in one EU member state and working there, and is then sent by this employer to another European member state. So why is this of importance to look into this group? We know for decades now that posted workers in general are more exposed to unfair practices, both when it comes to working conditions and wages. And this is even more so with third country nationals, and this is linked to their legal status, because their right to residence and work in the EU is connected to their employment contract. So if they voice their wrongdoings, they don't only risk to lose their jobs, but also to risk their possibility to stay and work in the European Union. A few words about the regulatory framework. The right to post a third country national within the European Union was laid down in the 1990s in this Van der Elst case, where the court said that if a worker is being lawfully and habitually employed in the sending country, this person can be sent to another member state, and if so, the receiving country cannot require a work permit for these workers. But then the problem arises, what is considered as habitually. So what we know from case law is that workers should be carrying out their main activity in the country where the employer is established. And we also know that a permanent employment contract is not required. So this could also be on a fixed term contract, but it's unclear for how long this fixed term should be. Still, the conditions of what is habitually is still a bit unclear. And furthermore, the Van der Elst case only says something about the work permit. The worker would also need a residence permit. So in some cases, the receiving country could ask ask the worker to obtain a residence permit also. But I won't discuss that further in this presentation. So what makes the situation complex for the labour inspectors is that while migration law mostly is harmonized across the EU, parts of it is still the domain of the national states. So that's meaning that the conditions for entry and obtaining work and residence permit for some kind of workers can be decided by the member states nationally, and the requirements differ across states. So this has facilitated what is described as posting corridors in this report from ELA. where third country nationals enter in countries where the requirements to obtain a work permit is quite low, and then they are posted further to other EU member states with stricter requirements for a work permit. And also it seems that some of this posting is done without this condition of them working habitually in the sending state is fulfilled. And also there are signs of business models that only move people from some of these third countries through one EU member state to other member states. And a couple of examples are given in this ELA report. For instance, from Slovenia. Slovenia has a bilateral agreement with Bosnia-Herzegovina and Serbia, making it easier for citizens of these countries to take up work in Slovenia. Furthermore, in Poland, citizens of Moldova, Georgia, and Armenia may take up employment only on the basis of a declaration by the employer that they are offering work to foreign national, and it could be for a period of not up to 24 months. So just to indicate this in some numbers, I mean, these are numbers from 2020, so before the Russian full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. So things might have changed since then, but it's just to indicate what we're talking about. In Slovenia, in 2020, 60% of all posted workers were third country nationals. And the numbers for Poland was 17%, and Spain 11%, which there is a corridor from Morocco and Ecuador through Spain. And in actual numbers, there has been also an increase from 2018 to 2021. So in Slovenia, the number has doubled from 23,000 in 2018 to more than 45,000 in 2021. And in Poland, from 23,000 to 115,000 3 years later. So it's quite a high increase in this period. The countries receiving the largest share of third country nationals measured as share of posted workers are Belgium, Austria, France, and the Netherlands. And then I have to add, for many countries, there are no numbers of the number of third country nationals posted across borders. And that is the case also for many of the Nordic and the Baltic states. So we asked the inspectors what they had seen and observed in their inspections. Where do the third country nationals come from, and what is the country they are sent from? And based on this, I'm not going to go into this in detail, but what we see is that third country nationals come from low-wage countries in the east. Poland is an important transit country for all of these receiving countries, but also the Baltic states for the Nordics. And the Norwegian inspectors also mentioned this Balkan-Slovenian corridor. When it comes to inspection of posted third country nationals in the Baltic and the Nordic countries, we don't know the number, what we're talking about, and none of the inspectorates in this country do targeted inspections of these workers. In some of the countries, they will know before they go out to visit the workplace whether they would find third country nationals there, because it's notified to them in their registration or notification system. But that's not for all countries, and even though they don't do any targeted inspections of these. In some countries, labor inspectorates cannot really check either whether the third country national is lawfully posted. And this is due to the kind of competence they're given in the legal framework in that country. So they have to involve other authorities or do joint inspections with police, border guards, or immigration authorities. In other countries, they have the right to check, like work permits, for instance, but then they check whether they have a valid work permit, for how long they have been working in the country, and whether a notification is made. Whether the conditions for habitually work in the sending country is fulfilled is often not a part of the inspection. So it's fair to say that we kind of lack information of this group of workers. So what kind of challenges are identified by the inspectors? First of all, that the legal framework is complex. This is both because it requires somehow kind of an understanding of the immigration law in the different sending countries, but also because of the conditions are still a bit unclear when it comes to what is habitually. Secondly, it's difficult to find and identify the posted third country nationals, and this is due to different reasons in the different countries. For instance, in Norway, they lack a sufficient notification system that makes them able to know where to find posted workers in general and also to find third country national posted workers. In other countries, the companies should notify also the nationality of the worker, but that's not in all notification systems. And also one problem is related to some companies may give up the wrong nationality of the workers. So an example from Iceland, where workers had been declared as Polish workers, but when the inspectors came and asked for their ID, they had a Belarusian passport, for instance. So even though nationality is notified, it's not always to be made use of by the labor inspectors. For instance, in Estonia, this information can only be accessed by the police and not by the labor inspectorates. So just to illustrate, as the quote here from a Norwegian inspector, that they don't really know where they come from until they have used the detect language in the Google Translate app. This also is related or also lead to some practical problems. As this quote here from the Finnish inspector shows, that inspections can be harder to undertake as they're not prepared with what kind of language they will meet when they go on working sites to do interviews. Further, when it comes to this challenge of identifying whether it's a genuine posting or not, of course, this is a problem that is related to posting in general, but as mentioned, there are some special issues when it comes to third country national posting. This is related to whether the work permit is valid and whether the residence permit is required, whether the worker has worked in the sending country before posting, but also when it comes to the use of the internal market information system, the IMI, because some of these workers that are quite vulnerable, if the inspectors go on site to talk to them, and then they have to go back and check for information and wait a few days before they get information from other countries through this IMI system. It takes too long, and then the worker has disappeared when they return. And a final problem is that in many cases, you could ask, why should the labor inspectors actually care about this? Because their tasks when they go inspections are related mostly to other issues. While whether it's a genuine posting or not, maybe it's more of relevance to other authorities, like for Social Security, for instance. So when they have to prioritize between different issues, maybe whether they are generally posting or not is not that important. Actually, so nobody really cares whether the conditions are fulfilled. So we have some suggestions for improvement. First of all, the notification systems, where they don't exist or where they are not good systems, of course, we suggest that these are implemented or improved. But also for many countries, because this notification system, they are quite different for what kind of documentation and information that are asked by the countries. So to explore the possibilities for requiring more information could be done. And in relation to posted third country nationals, including the nationality of the worker, a copy of their employment contract, and the work residence permit in the sending country would be one suggestion. Furthermore, one could look into whether the employer should have requirements regarding storing more documents. For instance, an example from France, where the employer must keep documents related to the economic activity in the sending country, and also the employer contract. That might be a suggestion for more countries to look into. Training of inspectors, both when it comes to the legal situation, also what kind of questions that could be asked to find out more about these workers would be something to do. And finally, of course, the cooperation with other authorities, for instance, other authorities that have more interest into whether the posting is genuine or not. During the inspections, one could look into to use more targeted inspections, as they do in Belgium and Germany, but of course, then you have to know where to find these workers. And also in this project, we have tested some new questions to be used during inspections to determine whether the posting is genuine or not. And some of the inspectors discovered that when they asked these questions, they found out that these workers, for instance, had never been to the sending country. So to improve what kind of questions to be asked could be also a good idea. We also find that inspectors in some countries need better access to online databases, more in general, but also not all inspectors have like a tablet that they can use to access information during the inspection. So that would also be a suggestion for countries to look into. And finally, an example from Finland, for instance, where they give more responsibility to the company in the receiving country, the assigner, and make this company responsible to ensuring that the work permits are valid and that this country can be fined if they don't do so. Also to improve the internal market information system, the IMI. The IMI has many relevant questions when it comes to third country posting, but some of them need maybe clarification, and also to train inspectors how this should be understood, both when asking them and also but providing information as an answer to this question. And there can also be a need for adding some new questions. Further, to ensure that all inspectors have access to IMI, but still there is a doubt about the inspectors that we have interviewed that the IMI could solve the problem of getting access to information of these third country nationals that are posted, because it takes, the response time is too long. This is a recurring issue when it comes to the discussion of posted workers, of course. Also, some inspectors point to the information from ELA, that it has been very good to get information, and also that the inspector exchange that is supported by the authorities have been very, very useful to create networks and make exchange of information easier. So that's the main outtakes from this part of the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristin. I would like to introduce Cecilie Myrvold. She's a senior inspector in the Norwegian Labour Inspectorate. And she's also part of the group from the Nordic and Baltic Labour Inspectorates that has been working with us in our project. And as we heard from Kristin, none of these participating countries, that's the Nordic and Baltic, they do targeted inspections on third country national posting. And in Norway, inspections of third country nationals have been likened to black holes. So what do the Norwegian Labour Inspectorate actually know about the scope of and the situation for posted workers from third countries?
We don't really know that much because the lack of information and the lack of registration means that we can't really do any targeted inspection. But it's kind of the same if it's a general posting or it's a posting of our third country nationals. So traditionally, the main focus when you've been going out on inspections, especially since a lot of them are posted to the construction sector, is that the inspector will focus on the regular OSH matters and other matters, and the posting kind of comes in the second line, especially because in the construction sector, it's equality that goes a long way with the rules and how they should be treated. So they don't really find the big changes, and traditionally there hasn't been that many third country nationals in that kind of sectors. The ones we've seen that have been third country nationals have been highly skilled workers that had really good benefits. But there's been a change lately because of the change in Europe and in the labor market. And we do see that there's a lot of change in migration, and now we're having more posted workers in kind of the general construction sector because there's just a lack of those kind of workers in Europe.
Yeah, also in the other, like Poland and...
Yeah, because a lot of, especially after COVID, we do see that a lot of the Polish workers and generally in Eastern Europe, they've kind of stayed behind and stayed in their own country because the economy is going better. So then there's less workers from Eastern Europe that want to come and work in Norway. And we still need the work, and all of Europe need the work, so now they're looking outside to get third country nationals to come in instead.
Yeah, so when you meet these workers, that it's more like accidental?
Yes, I would say it's by accident, and it's kind of what was said on the presentation, that you don't often know. You'll meet a Portuguese company, and they will say that, oh, we have all these Portuguese workers with us, but you're not going to know before you go further into the question that they might be from Brazil or they might be from another country that Portugal has an agreement with. And there's no information in any of our systems that say they're from another country. And normally they don't really give us that information before you ask very specific questions. They will tell you the sending country and not their nationality. So that's...
But what are the most common nationalities then, besides of Brazil?
Besides, there are a lot of, there has been an increase of Moldovians to Romania. There are Bosnians and Serbians through either Croatia or Slovenia. And there, through Poland, there's been a lot of Ukrainian before, and then also from Belarus. There still is a few other nationalities through Poland, and also through Lithuania, which is a major country when it comes to transportation and road transport. And we see they used to have a lot of Ukrainian drivers, and of course they now have to go out to the market, and they're mainly Asian that are now coming in as third country nationals through
Asians,
through Lithuania.
So it's construction and transportation that is...
Yes, that's the main sectors, because in agriculture we do have an own quota for seasonal workers, so that they can actually apply directly to Norway to come in as third country nationals. So it's mainly construction and road transport where we see posted workers. Of course, like posted workers only make up a really small part of the labor immigration to Norway, so there's a lot of other sectors we see labor immigration, but with the posted workers, that's the main sectors.
So Kristin mentioned language as a problem, but are there also any, what would you say as the main obstacles when you meet the third country?
It's to get the correct information and actually have the time out there to talk to them. And if you have the language barrier, that can be quite difficult to get the right information. And in addition to that, it is the time frame, like also Kristin was saying about the fact of the time of getting information through the IMI system through the EU. It takes time, and if it's not a genuine posting you're talking about, they're not going to be there 2 or 3 or 4 days later if we come back. So if you cannot confirm the documents or the situation when you're out there on inspections, you're not going to get the correct answers afterwards anyway. And we've had a few cases where we have suspected that there's not a genuine posting, And as soon as we left, we can never find the workers or the company, because there might have been a subcontractor and they're just gone and kind of erased from Norway. So even if we then try and open a case and try and follow, they just disappear out of the system again. And they probably reappear in a new name, but we still cannot follow them.
Yeah, and as also Kristin mentioned, how far do you go then? Because this digging, this like detective work to find out whether this is genuine, yes, posting. Is it like something that you think, okay, but this is not our primary
Yeah, I think a lot of inspectors, and this also has to do with the time frame you have for each inspections, and if it's a lot of serious OSHA matters out there on the site, of course you would do that first, because that has to do with the health risk of the workers. But we will try to dig in and see if we can find more information, and also see if we can follow up on this company in the sending country, because we have an opportunity to also have the fines collected in the sending countries, but it's a long process, and very often, since they kind of just dismantled and disappear out of our reach, if they say that the company now is dissolved, it's very difficult for us to find them again, and very often you end up on a letterbox company in Slovakia or in Lithuania or in Poland. And if it's just a letterbox company, there's not really much more we can do.
But is this something that you normally do, like digging deep into?
Not in that many, but we try, and we've been better the last years, because we do see that there's the opening of posting workers, especially when they start posting more and more third country national. It is an opening to get into the Norwegian market and take advantage of the workers, because that's how they can earn money. So of course that's what they're trying to do, and we would like it to be kind of an equal game in the system, so that we don't want them to...
The use of third country nationals becoming like a new business model, or...?
It's, of course, Norway has pretty high wages, even now, even if exchange rate's going down, it's still a high-cost country. And if you're going to earn money and have a surplus of actually running a business here, you don't want to pay taxes, you don't want to pay minimum wage, and that you need workers that you actually can take advantage of, that don't know better, or they're so kind of locked into that situation because they're in Norway because of their employer, so they don't really have any other options.
No, they're quite vulnerable.
Yeah, because they cannot get another job in Norway, because they're really not entitled to be here, and then they're not going to go to the government and ask for help either.
So earlier I've been working with different projects for the Labour Inspectorate, and one issue that always comes up is a registration system for posted workers that you don't have in your toolbox. But what kind of tools do you want to make these kind of inspections more?
We need, like Norway needs a registration system. Like we have the assignment register for the tax office, but it's not complete enough. And also they are entitled to change or make, like they can report them 14 days after they started working in Norway. So of course very often we'll come out an inspection and they won't report them before after we've been there. So they probably didn't have a plan to do it at all, but since you come in inspection, they might do it. So we need a registration system where they have to report the workers before they actually come into Norway. And the labor inspectors have to have access to it. Like we have access to normal employment registers in Norway. We should also have access to the posted workers. And like that was said before today too, that we need more information on from the sending company that send them to Norway. There has to be very clear demands on what they actually have to report. Like they have to maybe give the employment status and all the other information that we need to be able to
So a registration
this.
system is the most important?
Yes.
Yeah. So now we're soon going to hear from the European Labour Authority also. Do you have any expectations for this ELA that is quite new yet? Still?
We do see that we have a need for the European cooperation, and we hope that ELA can help us even go further into that kind of cooperation. Because the ones that want to take advantage of the system and want to try and just earn money across Europe, they're not going to mind if there's a border, and especially inside the Schengen area, they don't really see the borders, they just see where they can have a business opportunity. And we need the cooperation, and we need the better information flow. And we also do see that the trends that starts in one part of Europe, it does spread through Europe. That can also give us an advantage to know what's going to happen, and also know how to prepare if our colleagues have seen this develop in another country.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. And I will now give the word to Federico Pancaldi, who is the head of cooperation and national liaison officer in the European Labour Authority. And he will tell us about ELA's experiences with third country posting and what kind of assistance that can be provided to national authorities. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon. Thanks again for inviting ELA to this very interesting seminar and sharing also the experiences of the Nordic-Baltic states. We are looking forward to welcoming Norway in Iceland and Liechtenstein in our organization. And this is clearly a very important get to know each other moment on a topic that is gaining more and more attention all throughout Europe. I just wanted to start by saying that when the topic of third country nationals and posting of third country nationals has gained a lot of attention, but only recently. We are now discussing, there is today the forum on the posting of workers hosted in the premises of ELA as we speak. And we are talking about the implementation of the revision of the Posting of Workers Directive that we did in 2018. And this topic in 2018 was not on the agenda, which signals how different is the context now in 2024 with respect to 2018. Posting of workers, I start with I would like to get to the next slide because you quoted extensively this report. Thank you very much. And this report is a bit the source of evidence that we started to collect because there was a need for a specific contribution on the posting of workers, on the posting of third country nationals. The figures, when it comes to numbers, are still unclear. And this is my first message, that a bit because of the reporting system, a bit because of notification systems that not always collect comparable data, the numbers of the third country nationals are not very clear. So you cannot even make time series over to see the evolution over time because it's data is incomplete. This report is putting together the available evidence, but it comes only to some limited results. So one of the first action point is actually to improve data collection, and this is I will come back to that later. In the next slide, I wanted to just explain about this mutual learning and understanding framework we are running. It's called Posting 360, and it's a program where we host different discussions between practitioners and the social partners to discuss different aspects of the posting of workers and exchange experiences and practices. This Posting 360 incorporates the ELA Forum on the Posting of Workers, which is a large event that takes place twice per year. And right now as we speak, they are downstairs in the premises of ELA, where we have a meeting where also Norway is represented. This is the place where we also have, and we can go to the next slide, we have created a specific work stream on the posting of third country nationals, whereby we have held some 4 workshops to address the main aspects of posting of third country nationals and see the different approaches by the national administrations. We have developed conceptually the articulation of these workshops on what is required before posting, what happens during the control of during the inspections, and what EU and national legal issues are still open. And if we can go to the next slide, the result of all these activities are many. I will try to summarize some of them. In the first place, from a policy perspective, the posting of third country national is, as the previous speaker was saying, a business model, but it's also a bypass route to ordinary migration procedures. And this must be somehow clear, because it also calls into question migration policies, and exactly the fact that the posting of third country national lies at the intersection between migration law, social security law, labor law, creates a complexity that is to be mastered, and it's to be mastered within probably longer period than just ad hoc actions. So in the next slide, I was saying exactly that, but we can even skip it, because you have already exposed very well the general framework. We can go to the specific challenges. Voila. And here we are finding in our seminars a number of issues that were mentioned already somehow. The fact that the length of stay, so the posting of third country national is permitted. It's not illegal as such, but the presumption is that the third country national that is legally resident in one EU country is only temporarily in yet a third country, and is to return to the country where he has his normal residence. But the practice sometimes show that these third country nationals are actually kind of permanently residing in a country that is different from the one where they have the visa. And therefore, their permanence in the territory of the third member state is almost permanent. Therefore, all this presumption that the work permit is waived because of this weak link with the host country then falls apart. We have seen through the exchange of practices that there are multiple work and visa permits created by the member states of the European Union. We have gone, for instance, through the experience of Portugal that has different types of visa that other authorities need to know. And that's problematic for Labour Inspectorate. They are not in the field, but need to cooperate with their colleagues from the Interior Ministry or whoever is competent for migration, that need to know how to recognize a valid visa from a EU country. And this is one of the first challenges with respect to the cooperation between authorities across the countries. The second issue that came often up was the recruitment through chain posting, or the presence of intermediary. That could be more or less formal. There could be real temporary work agencies established in one country, but actually operating to export workers to another. And there again, there are some general issues about the operation of temporary work agencies, but when it comes to third country nationals that are most of the times unaware of the legal construct that has been set up in order to post them to some other country, it's very difficult to find. And I echo the previous speaker when she said this is one of the issues that we need to ascertain on the spot, because these companies are gone right after. And let me also mention the fact that the cooperation between inspectorates is still to be improved. We have the IMI system through which the competent authorities exchange information. So sometimes the presence of third country nationals is exchanged through IMI, but most of the times there are more informal means of communication by, for instance, embassies or trade unions to the Labour Inspectorate to warn about the presence of illegally staying third country nationals or abusive practices. So this is another important point, is how you find facts, how you do, what are the sources of information. Of course, countries that have a notification system may have it easier, but it depends on the information that, on the correctness of the information that is provided. It depends most of the time on the genuine nature, and that also we explored of not only labor, but also social security documents, the PDA1s. It happens quite frequently that the PDA1s are not genuine. Something has been falsified. So training is also necessary for labor inspectors on that. And let me conclude on the last slide, because we are performing another study on the recruitment channels of posted third country nationals that is going to be published by the end of this year. We have set up together with the directory on the competent authorities in different countries, including contact points. We are developing a learning resource for national authorities in order to get to know the procedures and the documents required by different member states, and this should be more a tool for practitioners. And when all this is prepared, we are looking forward to organizing more targeted staff exchanges between member states to learn from each other and to make the specific trainings for national authorities, including inspectorates, to understand better their own practices. This is all. Thank you very much, and looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much, Federico. Very interesting. You talked about. Look forward to the next report from you in ELA. Is this? Would you say that this is a big issue for you, this third country posting, or is this an important issue for the ELA?
Sorry, say it again.
Is this an important issue for ELA, this third country posting?
Yes, it definitely is. There are some specific actions, but the posting of third country nationals is also part of our ordinary activity on inspections. So we are conducting regularly inspections on specific sectors, and this is also part of the lessons that we are learning about the practices of companies with the posting of third country nationals.
You talked about the activities and what you are doing also towards the national labour inspectorates. I don't remember, or I didn't get if you mentioned also cross-border joint inspections. Is that also something that you can facilitate, or how is the situation?
Now, for the sake of time, I had cut it, but of course, yeah, that's part of the core business of ELA, to facilitate and support cross-border joint inspections. As you were also making clear, there are different inspection practices by the member states. So some countries make targeted inspections targeting member states. I think the functionality of targeting third country nation is more about what is required when you get to when you know that you're going to face some workers from a third country. The previous speaker was mentioning the need for linguistic exchange, and this is one of the many other factors that are needed to be taken into account when you conduct inspections. But this is also what we offer and what we learn through the practice, and therefore we are looking forward also to Norway's integration in this system.
Okay, thank you very much, Federico.
Thank you.
We got a question here about social security protection. So what, if any, is the EU-initiated social security protection of a placed third country national? More specifically, a worker falls down from a scaffold during work. Will he be covered by work accident insurance? And if so, from which country? I don't know, Kristin, maybe you can try to answer. This is, I guess, linked to the A1 schemes, or?
Yeah, I mean, the social security regulation is coordinated across EU. So the regulation, what happens with a third country national that is posted is more or less the same for an EU citizen that is posted. And the situation then is that the posted worker is part of the social security scheme of the sending country. But of course, that depends on the third country national having a legal residence in the sending country. So I guess you could have a situation where the worker is not covered by neither the sending social security scheme nor the receiving scheme. But of course, if you fall down from a scaffold, you will probably have some immediate need for help. So you get from the receiving country, but otherwise you should be covered by the sending country social security scheme.
Yeah, but then you probably have to have a work permit and in the sending.
Yeah, it has to be a generally posting.
Of course.
Yeah.
And also, there's another question here from the same viewer about leisure time. Worker is run down by car during leisure hours and becomes disabled. Is he eligible for disability benefit, or if so, from which country? Are we able to answer that?
Yeah, that's more or less the same regulation. So this person should be covered by the sending country's social security scheme. So it depends, of course, of the conditions in that scheme. But again, of course, the person needs to be part of that scheme, and I guess that he or she will need to have a legal residence and work permit in that country.
Thank you very much. Do you have something to add, any of you? No? We haven't got any more questions, so then I think we'll just say good afternoon to you all. Thank you for viewing, and we'll meet again